All right, everybody. This is Bustérs, the latest innovation in the Busters world. Isn't that amazing? Okay. All right. Are we digging? Is it working? Facing back. There we go. All right. So, before we do a proper Busters show, we want to kind of fuck around and do some Bustérs episodes. And I figured I would mess around with that a little bit before. Oh, you hear that? Cars are going fast. People are going fast in their cars. Who knew? Who knew? So anyway, um, let me throw a link out there. I want to throw a link out to my people. It's good to see that Bam Margera is doing good. He's got some, he's doing much better than he was before, I should say. We'll see how things go in the future. One thing that I think is pretty cool is that he actually was skating in a park near my place, literally 1 mile from me, maybe even less than 1 mile. I've filmed content there before on an HBO IRL. Anyway, it's cool to see him skating again. Extra cool seeing him skate in the areas near me, and I hope that he does some amazing shit. I want to see him drop a new video part, whatever. But I think that a lot of credit should be given to Tony Hawk for backing Bam. Because I think the mindset these days is that um you should that people don't necessarily want to back someone who's has a history of being a drug addict, etc. But Tony Hawk realized, like, in his prime, Bam was selling more boards than Tony himself, which is fucking crazy because when you think skateboarding, you think Tony Hawk. At least the majority of people seem to think that way. He's the household name. He's the Michael Jordan of, people know LeBron James, but they really know Michael Jordan, you know, even if they don't follow basketball. So, you know, Bam Margera is the LeBron James to Tony's Michael Jordan. The point is that, he backed a guy who not everybody was backing. For example, they didn't put him in Jackass. They didn't have the nuts to put him in Jackass. I don't know if they thought it was bad for their image or what, but it's just one more thing about Paramount that makes me think that they kind of suck as a company. Um, you know, Like I didn't have any, like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, I didn't have any opinion about Paramount. If you said, what do you think about Paramount? I would say, well, the mountains in their little intro animation look nice. That would be the summation of my entire opinion of Paramount. But now that I think about it, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of weirdness. The fact of all this bribery and weird shit, and the fact that I don't know if they were behind the decision to not have Bam on the show, on the Jackass 4 forever. I did notice, like, every single, I'm not sure how to feel, right? So every single movie of theirs was a gimmick title. So there was Jackass, Jackass number 2, like shit, Jackass 3D, because it's 3D, then Jackass Forever. Like, what would be Jackass 5? Jackass 5 Alive, and they all drink that shitty, maybe it's not shitty, but they all drink that frozen drink. Jackass Fifth Times the Charm. I don't know. But Mike Check Media says, will the mighty Sam Hill be joining tonight? What I would say is we could have Sam Hill join as like a guest, as a guest. As far as joining as a primary co-host, I would have to talk to him about doing a behind the scenes kind of conversation so we could properly prepare for the show. What I mean by that is, um, we try to prepare for the show, but we don't always have something planned. And so the best way to make a show that is worth listening to, that people want to tune into, the absolute best way to do that would be for us to communicate behind the scenes. Now, how do we do that, right? The best way that I've come up with lately has been to use Instagram. And I guess I'm like revealing, like, industry secrets. Don't tell anybody, but unless you want to. I guess I'm not. Anyway, the point is, I don't want Sam Hill. I would like to talk to him behind the scenes a little bit, and he seems very hesitant to do that. And I don't know if it's a power play, like he doesn't want to have the conversations, like he doesn't want to I don't know if he feels like me getting him to do behind the scenes work means that that I'm getting one over on him and that I'm getting my way. I really don't know what the deal is with this whole, like, me versus Sam Hill arc to things. But it's just a little, it's just a little, you know, I think, here's my best guess. I think that what happens with a guy like Sam Hill happens with Russell Cook as well. These guys are working with me and they feel this, um, they want to make sure that they have independence. They don't want this to be a corporation where there's a guy at the top and what he says goes. There's a boss and we're just the underling. And I get that, and that's not what I strive for. But I think sometimes when I make a suggestion, it is taken in that way. You know, people think you could do the smallest thing, and if you don't do it in the right way, people might think that you are trying to be a dictator. You know, and I think, like, you know, I think if I was working with someone, I might have similar concerns, but I guess I thought if I was working with someone for long enough, I would kind of be able to sniff out if someone's intentions were just to be the big shot, hot shot, king of them all, you know, type of guy, or if their intentions were to, you know, do a show. You know, I've dealt with different live streamers, some of them in person, some of them online. Um, some of the online ones would say, like, you know, this is you know, here I am. I'm gonna fucking be your boss, you know. I'm the hot shit. You know, I've heard people literally say, like, let's just say the guy's name is Bob, and they're like, this is the Bob show. It's not the fucking HB show, so strap in, all right? And it's like, okay, all right. I wasn't saying it was my show, but now I really know whose show it's supposed to be. And it's like, you know, it's not that it just kind of, I guess it just kind of you get the feeling, you're like, okay, am I doing a show, or am I just feeding this guy's ego, you know? Am I really doing something that is worthwhile, or am I just doing something that, like, you know, makes this. And listen, I'm not even saying that it's like that crazy, right? For a talk show host to have an ego. Like, it's, you know, it comes with the territory, but, um, you know, even that, it's like, let's, you know, there are degrees of, I'm not expecting you to not be an asshole, but there are degrees of asshole that you can go to where it's just like, okay, all right, now I see who I'm dealing with. And okay, you know, if I was dealing with, say, Howard Stern, Joe Rogan, as much as I don't like him, he's just an example. But, like, if I was dealing with someone who could make or break me in terms of a career and exposure, I get it. But there's people who you're getting, like, you're doing you know, zero numbers, and they still expect you to be, you know, obey them as the fucking king of the world. That kind of, I don't know, it just strikes me as kind of silly, you know? You're a guy and one person is watching you, and you think that I gotta bow down to you? I don't know. You know, people are like, you know, I made you, and you're like, you made me? You know, if you made me, then what you made me into is kind of pathetic, because I don't, you know, I feel like you can only really brag about saying you made someone or you put someone over if they're getting like a thousand plus live viewers. If you say you made a guy and he's getting 20 live viewers, you haven't made shit. That's just, that's the truth. It's not even, I mean, I guess I could say that's my opinion, but honestly, it's just the truth. Uh, you haven't made it if you've got 20 live viewers. And I'm not saying like, oh, everybody who has 20 live viewers sucks. That's not my point whatsoever. I'm saying, uh, it's totally fine to be appreciative of what you have, but if you start to flex, it's like it's similar to being like, yo, I'm fucking rich, and you have $1,000 in your bank account, pretending you're a millionaire or a multimillionaire, and you have $1,000 or $1,200. It's it's good. I'm not saying, if you have $1,200, you're a fucking loser. That's not my point. My point is, if you flex, there is going to be extra judgment and criticism of what you are. If you in terms of looks too, if you're a guy who's a 6 and you say you're super handsome, people will think you're a 4. But if you're a 6 and you don't brag and you're actually like cool, maybe people will think you're an 8. I just think that it's all about perception. It's all about how you act. There's not an exact science to it, but it just kind of makes sense observationally if you look at the way people are acting, the way that people come across. Um, I would like to know what new features they've added in StreamYards lately. That would be interesting to find out. Um, so just to be clear, so you might be wondering, what is Bustérs and how does it differ from Busters? I'm here to explain that. So Busters, I want to do as a more polished, put together, complete program with a monologue, you know, potentially other segments and so on. Right? So if I rush that, you can't rush something that is meant to take some time to put together properly. So if I do that, it'll just be kind of a piece of shit kind of show. So I want to properly take the time to do that, and in the meantime, we'll do these kinds of shows where maybe there will be a Sam Hill who pops in, maybe there will be other people from the Universal audience, like a David Walsh, who shows up. Then Universal, I shouldn't say the Universal audience, the Universal sphere of guests. I don't have a term for it yet. But the point is that we'll have people come in, people who want to take part in the program, and they very well might make their appearance, and, we'll have fun with them when they show up. But I think that it's very important to, welcome people, new people into the fold as well. Who knows who might show up. If we've got, you know, honestly, like I'm saying, I don't know who might show up to the program. Let me actually all right. Let me actually make an attempt and throw a link out there for people who maybe would want to take part in the program. Because I've let's just see what happens. All right. Amazing. All right. What I really need is one of those car mounts, what you mount on the window and shit, so that people can watch you while you're driving. That would be ideal. But since I don't have that, I'm just gonna put my phone down for the time being and drive on back, and then we'll see what happens. I hope you're having an amazing day. All right. So, a lot of folks smoke pot. It's amazing. So, yeah, I do want to cover some more JLP type of stuff, just to for the fuck of it, We used to cover Jesse Lee Peterson quite a bit back in the day. That was sort of almost like the DNA of the show because of how much it would be covered. Recently, I don't know. I guess I thought I would think oh shit, I guess I'm doing it too much. But I don't know, who cares, right? Just have fun with it. But enjoy yourself at the same time. So one of the things that Jesse Lee Peterson did was he had Matan on his show. Matan of Evan, of course, is who I'm referring to. He's an interesting guy. He's a guy who people would talk about a little bit. People, I don't know if people really knew what to make of him, really, right? Like Matan Evan was this young kid. He said he was 17. Who knows how the fuck old he actually is? But he's a guy, right? So he's one of those guys who stirred shit up, did something different, totally different. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not like he was okay, let me take the Joe Rogan formula and switch it up a little bit. No, he's like a total 180, total 540, total different direction from what people are doing these days, and what they're saying and doing, and etc. He's just someone who is different. He's different than everybody out there. And he's doing an interview show on, technically, maybe he would call it an interview show, but what he's doing is a show that provokes and confuses the shit out of people and lets you know kind of who they really are. So, yeah, it's a wild, kind of different style of show than anybody else is really doing right now. He's just kind of messing with the whole format, and I think that all right, if I can't get anybody to jump on right now, what's up, Batty? If I can't get anybody to jump on right now, I think I might have to jump off just because yeah, I don't have like a proper studio. So I'm gonna have to hop off. Thank you folks for hanging out. Talk to you later.